Hello and welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. Back in the UK now, a couple of weeks off. Apologies for the kind of production quality. I thought it was more important to get something out rather than skip for a couple of weeks, because then I would have completely lost track of everything that was happening. But we're back now, and all is good. So, what's been happening in the last week? Some interesting things, and it's time to talk about more conferences as well. But the first thing I want to talk about is something that we've talked about not that long ago, actually, but is now GA, which is the ability in Microsoft Graph to get the transcripts from Microsoft Teams meetings. This is kind of interesting. As you know, when meetings get recorded, there's the transcript, you can download it. You can now do a lot of that programmatically now as well. So we talked about it before when it was in preview. Now it's fully GA, and that's moved pretty quickly, actually. There's a couple of different ways you can access it. Full details are in this blog post, but you can do it in a REST type of way. If you know the meeting ID, you can get it that way, or you can get it as a change notification as well. It comes through in a VTT format, which is kind of a standard for transcripts, which is nice. It's got timings in it. It's got the start. It's got like the utterances, like the text that got spoken as well, and also the spoken language, which is interesting. This is kind of going to be for obviously meetings where transcription is turned on, and it has to, as part of that meeting, the recording and the transcription have to be active. But if those things are true and there is a transcript that is available in the UI, like a manually available transcript, then you will also be able to get it programmatically. So this is cool. This is good for maybe compliance apps or security apps that want to grab the transcripts and do something with it, analyze it, store it, all the rest of it. What's interesting and worth really paying attention to in this blog post is this API is metered, so you will pay for it. Okay, so just be aware there is a cost to using this API, just be aware of what that is. Full details are in the blog post and how that works, and we've talked about it before. We've covered it on these weekly updates before, so that's kind of a good one. I think it's good to see that the Graph API continues to evolve to support the functionality that the apps have. I think that's really important. I think it's good for the partner ecosystem. I think it's good for Teams itself, because it allows developers to use Teams in ways that the Teams team haven't necessarily thought about, and to use those features, things like transcription, in ways that you can't do it just in the UI. So I think that's all a brilliant thing. So it's a bit of a bummer that it's metered, but I kind of get it. That's where we're at with that. That's transcription now GA for Microsoft Graph APIs. So as one thing goes into GA, another thing goes into public preview. And this is kind of cool. This is for adaptive cards. So we've talked about adaptive cards lots before, and adaptive cards being a nicer way to display, nicer than just text anyway, way to display information. You can do it in Teams, you can do it in Outlook now, you can do it across the Microsoft 365 platform. It's quickly becoming the de facto UI construct for providing information. You can do feedback this way as well. There's a kind of two-way street with adaptive cards. You can have text box and you can have buttons, and you can do all sorts of different things. So the current development flow, if you're building adaptive cards at the moment, is that you will tend to build up the card either programmatically or using like a manifest file to describe it, like a JSON. I'm sorry, it's JSON, but it's like a language. I think it is JSON. It is JSON file to describe it, and you'll kind of do that either just because you're weird and you just can do it, which nobody does, or you'll use one of the tools. So you'll go to adaptivecards.io. There's one built into the Teams development toolkit or toolbox, or whatever it's called, that is now at developer.teams.microsoft.com, I think, from memory. Anyway, it's all a bit kind of disjointed. Like, you're copying and pasting these JSON manifests around a little bit to try and work out what it's going to look like, and then figure out what's going on. Right, this is a live stream, so this is kind of annoying, but I'm going to pause the live stream for a second and come right back to you in a moment. and we're back. Sorry about that. So if you're on the live stream, the recorded folks won't get this. They'll just get a nice cut point. But that's the problem with live streams, is that there's always something happening in the real world. And again, let's give you guys some bonus content because we made you wait. I'm having some work done outside. It's going to be really cool when it's done. I shall do a weekly update from there when it's all finished, even though it's getting colder. We're doing some kind of stuff outside. I'll wait to show you until it's done, but just know that I like cooking outside and it's kind of related to that. I like barbecues and it's kind of related to that too. Anyway, I should have done before and after photos and they've started already. I didn't do that. Never mind. Anyway, so what were we talking about? We were talking about adaptive card previewing. Yes. Okay, right. Live stream people, that's the end of your free bonus content because I'm probably going to cut the edit point about here. And let's get back to talking about adaptive cards. Right. It was all a bit disjointed, but now there's a better way of doing it. And this blog post is talking about a public preview for what is called the Microsoft Adaptive Card Previewer. So let me show you what that looks like. And this is kind of cool. It's going to be built into Visual Studio Code. So as you're building things in Visual Studio Code, you'll be able to get a real-time rendering of what that looks like. And I think that's really cool. It's such a good idea. You can side-by-side preview. You can toggle between different themes. It is going to support the idea of the thing they do with separation of data, if you know what that is in the adaptive card template language. I haven't used that very much, but I feel like it's pretty powerful. I've got some projects coming up soon that's probably going to use it, so I'll understand it a little bit better. But I think this is really cool. Yeah, so this is really nice. It's one of those things that as soon as I saw it, I thought, of course, this was such a good idea. But yeah, really glad to see that it's here. Yeah, you can get it. It's public preview. I'm just checking. It's public preview right now, so you can download it from the marketplace. Just look for Microsoft Adaptive Card Previewer. All the details are in that blog post. Yeah, really nice. Nice to see this. This is going to help that stream, I think, that workflow that developers have. And that's a cool thing. That's a good thing. Okay. Other things to talk about. If you're into Microsoft Graph and you're into Python, that's possibly an unusual mix of people, but you never know. There is a Microsoft Graph Python SDK for you. It's now in public preview. No, sorry, it's now in GA. It's been in public preview for a year. We talked about it a year ago, I think, but it's now in GA, which is cool. You can use it to access both the beta and the V1 endpoints. And yeah, I've been using Python more and more recently, and I really like it. And I got into it as part of some of the work I've been doing around AI and Copilot and stuff like that. And Python is one of the languages that's often used in just kind of moving data around and connecting different services. It's a good glue language. So using it as part of that. But it's good to see that you can now access Microsoft Graph content with it. This will help all sorts of people who are trying to access Microsoft Graph stuff in places like, I don't know, just non-native .NET code places. Using Python, which would be great, means it's one layer of abstraction up from having to use just the basic REST APIs. It abstracts a bunch of that kind of hard work away from you, which is kind of nice. It's got built-in retry handlers. It's got a bunch more kind of features and stuff. It's all built using this Kyoto stuff, which we've talked about previously, which is a really cool innovation and investment Microsoft made a few years ago. I remember them talking about it when it first came out. I feel like it was probably 2018, 2019 they first started talking about it, but it's really been useful now in helping them keep up to date, essentially, with having a presence for Graph on lots of different platforms. So I think this is really cool. If you're into Python and want to be more into Microsoft Graph, go check out the SDK because it's now GA. For everyone else who's not into Python, I think this is still a good thing because it shows how versatile the Graph team are getting now and how like Kyoto, the investment they're making in Kyoto has really helped, because what it means is Graph will continue to stay current and up to date as it evolves, but also as the platforms around it evolved, because you might not be using Graph on Python. You might be using it in .NET or HTML or Ruby or Java or a million other things, but it's a nice fuzzy feeling to know that Microsoft are probably going to keep that stuff up to date because it's a lot easier than if they were having to manually maintain all these libraries. So that's kind of a good thing. All right, let's switch gears and talk about something else. Let's talk about Copilot. And I could have chosen one of a million different blog posts celebrating and reporting on the GA of Microsoft 365 Copilot, which happened November 1st. It's a kind of a controlled GA because it's not open to everybody. And so I was looking for a blog post that kind of clearly described who it was for and what the limitations were. And I've settled on Mary Jo Foley's blog post from Directions on Microsoft because it's quite well bulleted. And I like how it kind of cuts through to just the facts. There's a lot of hyperbole at the moment about Copilot. There's a lot of excitement, and I get the excitement. There's a lot of words. There's a lot of stuff. And I think there's actually not that many people who have honestly and really experienced it, because actually it isn't available to everyone right now. It's available to a limited subset of people. And so we are going to have to wait and see and get their feedback on whether it's good or not. Because I think, a lot of it, we're still waiting on that. And we see, the Microsoft videos, we see the Microsoft demos, and they are very impressive. And we hear from people that, yes, it is impressive in what it does. It does have, there is something there. But there's also some caveats, there's things to be aware of. And so I think for me, I need more information to understand here, where this is going to be useful and how we're going to use it, and which parts of my life it's going to change and which parts it's not going to change. Anyway, Mary Jo Foley has this good top 10 list around what's going on. So 10 key points. I'm not going to go through them all, but she covers timelines, she covers availability and costs, who's eligible, and what it means to be Copilot, and what's in and what's out, basically, which I think is really useful to people just trying to understand what's going on, and whether they should buy now, whether they should buy later, whether they should keep tabs on it, whether they should ignore it, all those different things. So for lots of reasons, I've chosen Mary Jo Foley's blog post because I think it's a good one, and I think it kind of cuts to the heart of the information that we need right now for people to make decisions on what they do next. So that's the one I've chosen. And then finally, let's talk conferences and conferencing, because Microsoft Ignite is coming in hot. It's coming in like 2 weeks' time, something like that. It's November 15th to the 16th online, 14th to the 17th in Seattle, which is, a couple of weeks out. It feels like it's come really quickly. I haven't yet caught up at all on the last conference. I didn't attend, but attended online, but I have recordings for, so I have a lot of work and a lot of homework to do. But I think we're going to get more information, hopefully, about Copilot on Microsoft 365 at Ignite, Copilot generally probably at Ignite. And it will be interesting to see what the session guide for Ignite looks like. I'm just looking now. I don't believe it's out yet, but it might be. Oh, yes, it is. The session catalog is out. So next week, probably, I shall go through it and we'll pull out some interesting sessions to talk about and to talk through. But this is your call to action to register for Ignite if you're not going in person. I mean, if you're going in person, I hope you have already registered because it's sold out. But if you're attending online, register now. Even if you're not going to be able to watch the sessions in real time, by registering and figuring out the sessions you want to watch, you can put them into your backpack. And then you can download them and watch them at your leisure. You don't have to be online in the same time zone. If you can make it, it's good, because it's good to ask questions and get that immediate feedback and provide your feedback. But the next best thing is catching the recordings. And for Ignite, ever since 2019, which was an in-person event, a big in-person event, but still made all the recordings available, you could still stream everything, which was pretty amazing, especially for its day. Even now would be pretty amazing if it happened. But ever since then, they've been very good at hybrid and very good about making the content available to everybody, regardless of where they are. So that's a good one to keep track of. Ignite, it's a big, I was going to say IT Pro conference, but it's become more and more like the lines are definitely blurring between IT Pro and developer. And I think there'll be lots for developers at Ignite as well. Yes. So one of my jobs this week is to go through that session catalog and pull out the interesting things. So expect a blog post from me about that. All right, I think that's everything from this week. I'm still kind of catching up, so I might have missed something. Let me know if I have. Yeah, I hope you have a good week, whatever it is you're doing, and I will speak to you again next time.